Guru knows how to develop Vishwasam with each of us, and depending on how he needs to do it, each of us are dealt with differently. One size does not fit all. So here our Guru is showing us the various approaches to that Vishwasam, depending on the initial stage of anybody who comes before him, and nobody is eschewed or thrown out. Hence he starts with the very fundamentals which even most of our shastras don't even start. He starts with atheism to start with. Kalage sundarakaram sadaika priyadarshanam ajnana nashakam devam sadgurum Muralidharam. I am Sri Muralidhara Swamiji, and by the costless mercy of Sri Madhuri Sakhi Sameta Premika Vrada Thakurji, we are continuing to remember and relish the very unique work of our beloved Guru Maharaj, a shastram in itself, which is Kali Dharma Undiyar. And already Kali Dharma Undiyar has been dealt in detail both in Tamil and in English by Dr. Bhagyaji. His lectures are also available in our website, and there is a separate app also called Kali Dharma Undiyar, which is available. Yet, when a Mahatma, when our Guru Maharaj blesses such things, each of us want to enjoy in our own way. And that is the reason why we are exploring it, to relish the nectarine words of our beloved Guru Maharaj, and to just see, when you go to an ocean, at best you can go and maybe wet your feet if it's an Amavasya, and see a little bit of that beach and come back, and then we say we have covered the whole beach. But what we have done is gone to a small portion, maybe 100 feet of a beach which is 1,000 kilometers long, and the ocean itself is too huge and humongous, and there we must have touched 1 liter of it. Yet we feel very happy that we have gone there, we have watched the ocean, etc. Likewise, Kali Dharma Undiyar is an ocean, because it is the shastras themselves are oceans. You see, each shastra is an ocean, and it is said our Veda Mata is limitless, Anantavai Veda, and the essence of that Veda Mata is also limitless. And since our Kali Dharma Undiyar talks about the essence of all shastras, Kali Dharma Undiyar in itself is an ocean. And what we are doing, or anybody can do, is to go there and take a little bit and feel happy that I have done Samudra Snanam today. Of the millions and millions of limitless liters of Samudra water, I have taken 1 bucket full. And that itself is enough for me to be purified, isn't it? So what we are trying to do with Kali Dharma Undiyar's Vak Suddhika hai. And it is our Guru who nourishes us with his various Geetam and Vachanam, etc. isn't it? So with a little bit of a gratitude and a little bit of a joy, we are relishing a little bit of that infinite nourishment is giving us, Poshana. So here our Swamiji starts by saying that that which is the primal cause of everything. Namo Namaste Akhila Karanaya, Nishkaranaya, Adbhuta Karanaya, Sarva Ghamamnaya Maharnavaya, Namo Apavargaya Parayanaya. And the Slogatodiya Saram. In that he is very clearly says, Apavargaya Parayanaya, Muktikki Vittiduvai Undipara. May you open the doors of liberation for me. And since the salutation is not Sarva Mangalayum Aruliduvai Undiparanillinga, it is not talking about let all the auspiciousness be added to me, let Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksham be added to me. All that is not there. Very specifically, the Shastra is laser focused on only one thing, which is for mumukshus. It is for people who aspire for moksha. It is Dharma whose real intent is moksham only. And that is the reason why our Swamiji starts with Mukti ki Vittiduvai Upakramam Upasamharam. When you start your work with something, it shows the essence of the work. So this Dharma is not a Dharma which can enhance our Artha or Kama. This is a Dharma which puts a road or a journey for us to go to moksha. And the path is also very beautifully elucidated in the first verse, Mudalva Sharanam. That word Mudalva itself is name of Bhagavan. And so he is not only prostrating to Bhagavan, which is the named, is actually prostrating to the name of Bhagavan also. One of the names of Bhagavan is Sarvakaranaye Namaha, which is what is Mudalva. So he is saying, I am prostrating to the divine name, Undipara, Sharanam, surrendering to the divine name. And so let the divine name get me the grace so that I can actually see the end of Samsara Saga. You see? And that is the reason why the first initial verse, the auspicious verse, which is called Mangalacharanam itself, talks about Muktiki Vittidavai. So Dharma's pala is moksha. And since the whole work is Kali Dharma Undiyar, Swamiji, without telling directly, is telling us the secret of Shastra, which is the means is Dharma, the end is moksha. And the means for us is Kali Dharma. And Kali Dharma is Nama Sankirtanam. So he is going to start from fundamentals. Generally, we start with what is known and take us to unknown. That's how generally Shastras work. If we suddenly start telling something which is adrishtam, which is unknown to me, which is unthinkable, etc., then we can't even start somewhere. So we start with something which is known, and slowly Shastras or Mahatmas take us to the unknown. And in the transition area of known versus unknown, drishtam versus adrishtam, we need a very great encouragement to take that small leap of faith between leaving that which is known and traveling into the region of unknown. And that little leap of faith our Mahatmas do by what is called as showing us that it is possible, giving us confidence and giving us the Vishwasam. Generally, Vishwasam is more blessed by a guru than our own intrinsic value. If you are in a satsanga, Vishwasam is developed by a guru by various means. Each one of us are different. Each one of us come from a various background. When I say background, I don't mean this janma. So many janmas we have finished and come. And finally, this is our final janma. So we are standing before a Mahatma, a guru. So each of us have our own baggages. And a guru knows how to develop Vishwasam with each of us. And depending on how he needs to do it, each of us are dealt with differently. You see, one size does not fit all. So here our guru is showing us the various approaches to that Vishwasam, depending on the initial stage of anybody who comes before him. And nobody is eschewed or thrown out. Hence he starts with the very fundamentals which even most of our Shastras don't even start. He starts with atheism to start with, where he is answering some fundamental questions which has been stifled by our parents. So the starting from those fundamental questions we may have, out of his tremendous compassions, starting from fundamentals, our Swamiji is answering to show the marga towards moksha adrishtamat. It is not obvious to an intellect of any great human, a genius or good. Even if that human is a maha genius, that person cannot even start the first verse of Vedas, you see, because this is totally of a different dimension. This is for the dimension of Mahatmas who are in that Samadhi, who are Rishis, who are Avatara Purushas, Bhagavan, you see. And that is the reason why our Swamiji starts with Drishtam. Drishtam means that which is seen. And many times seeing cannot be done only by the eyes. Even our buddhi sees. When you have a very difficult problem and somebody solves it for you, now you say, now I see it. What do you see? The now understanding is also as a normal way of talking. Colloquial usages, understanding is also seen. So adrishtam means things which can't be understood directly by the intellect. So our Swamiji starts with the most obvious things. What is seen right now? First, the world is, nobody can deny there is a world. So he starts by saying that look at this world first. And look at what are the constituents of this world. And the world is made of 5 elements. And these 5 elements are contrary to each other, adversarial to each other. Yet they work together in perfect coordination. That clearly shows that it can't be nature. விரோதமாம் ஐம்பூதங்கள் ஒழுங்கில் இருப்பதால் இயற்கை வாதம் that which is unseen can be inferred with our intellect. I don't see Bhagavan directly and I can't see Bhagavan. Bhagavan cannot be an object of my seeing. And so our Swamiji starts by saying, even though Bhagavan is not an object to be seen, at least infer from the effects the cause. And that's called inference, anumanam. So at least he is moving us from an animal state of just kandade kachi to use your intellect a little bit now. If there is a perfectly made pot, at least you can infer there has to be a potter. You don't know whether it is one potter, two potters, pottressa, pottera, all that you don't know. And it is called samanya karanam and vishesha karanam. So normal inference, open inference of an astika can lead to what is called as a common cause determination, not the special cause determination. What a samanya karanam is, we will know ottarikar. For example, if there is somebody sitting before me and I don't know that person, I know that there is somebody sitting before me. I know there is somebody. Samanyama I know. Samanyamna I know that there is a human sitting. Until I interview and understand the background, etc., I won't know especially who is sitting, who is that specific person. Likewise, at best, inference, though it won't even take us there, even if you are very open, and even if you go with a little bias towards, yes, there has to be a higher authority running the universe, now at best, where can we go? There is somebody above us, that's all you can go, right? And somebody above us who's the cause of everything, that's a big step, na? At least go there. So he's saying that since the 5 elements are, though contract each other, they are actually coordinating with each other and giving us something very beautiful, something very systemic. Idan vishayam. Sanskritam will be better. ஒரு நியமம் இருந்ததுன்னா நியாமகன் இருக்கான்னு அர்த்தம். ஒரு சிஸ்டம்னு ஒண்ணு இருந்ததுன்னா there has to be a person who is actually managing the system. Otherwise system won't be a system. And so niyamam அப்படின்னா niyamakaya lokana has to be there. There is a niyamam, there is a repeatability, there is a system, there is clear demarcations, there is no randomness. You see something properly happening, whether it is space, time, or differences in people, etc. So that makes us open our intellect to a possibility. Maybe it's not accident. You see, as we always say, this whole concept of accident is more for Occidents. The Orients don't believe in accidents. They all believe in a cause. And we Orients na East people, compared to where our GMT lend vechukongla. And the Orients actually, even if they don't know what the cause is, they are very truthful. So what causes the universe? If you know something, it's called Vidya. If you don't know something, it's called Avidya. So here Rishi said how this whole universe came to being. Avidya. So the whole universe came because of Avidya. Abdina theriyaduna. Eppadiyo pannitaampa. Adbhuta karana. How he did, I don't know. But he did. Why? Shastras tell me. How? I don't know. Only he knows. If I also know how to do it, na arthadu yen kaila edutundruven illaya. If I know the technique to create the universe, I will go and tell Bhagavan, அடுத்தவாட்டி நான் தான் ஒரு வாட்டி பண்ணி பார்க்கிறேன். அது we'll never know, because by nature, loka vyapara varjanam says Brahma Sutra. So we can't do it. So here our first verse itself is suddenly expanding our perspectives. Suddenly, instead of just seeing the world as my world, our Swamiji is making us see it as the world. Look at the world, not your world. My world will be very selfish. What I want tomorrow, what I want with my sense organs, what I want as a desire, etc. is my world. But then our Swamiji is suddenly exposing it to a bigger perspective. Look at the world. You see, for a second, forget your world. And there are 5 elements in this world. And my friend see it without a bias. He has written in English. My friend, have a look at it without a bias. And then you will find something which is very wonderful, that these 5 wonderful elements, adversarial with each other, are coordinated and they work together and they give as a result. And the effect is very systemic. The effect has niyamam. There is order and there is predictability there. All that shows there is somebody running this whole thing. If things work like clockwork, there has to be a person who is a clockmaker and a key giver to that clock. You see, otherwise the clock won't work like clockwork. And that is the reason why our Swamiji says, Virodham Iyarkaivadam. It can't be nature. Virodham Nastikam. Nastikam means that which is not seen is not there at all. Is Nastikam. Na asti. That's Nastikam. So it is not there. And a great Mahatma said, there are some things we say is not there, and there are some things we say there it is there, and they also say some things which are there, and they also say something which are not there. So Nastika, Astika both accept something is there and not accept something is not there. You see, number one, in the Valagam Sashvadamni we don't accept. We accept only Goloka or Vaikunta or Atmaswarupa or Brahmaswarupa as Asti. They say, no, that is Nasti, this is Asti. So, rendu perume in a way or Nastika, Astika na. You see, it depends which I say Asti and which I say Nasti, makes it the more popular Nastika and Astika. So, Virodhamam Nathigamam Undipara. So, our Swamiji asks us to take a bigger perspective, drop all these old baggage. Look at the world. Even the Panchabhutam, which are supposed to be Jadam, and that is how we look at it. And then he says, Loka is not the authority or source of knowledge for Bhagavan. In fact, Bhagavan is the pramana for Loka. Pramanam, source of knowledge, source of authority. So don't say Bhagavan is there because universe is in order. That's only for a very childish person. You are able to see the universe. Mahabhutam is there. Akasam. Can you imagine infinitely yawning space? That does not know whether Bhumi exists or not. Such a huge Bhumi does not know if Vayu or Akasham exists or not. And Akasham does not know whether it exists or not. Vayu does not know whether it exists or not. But for you, all this is seen only by you. And you also know you exist. You don't need the authority of the world to tell you that you exist. So second slogathla apdiye urti potta. Janmadhyasya yatahaku rendu bhashyam. The first bhashyam is, look at the world, it is in order, so there is Bhagavan. Samanya bhashyam. Vishesha bhashyam is go inwards. Even if you get food, many Nastikas say, if you keep on saying Andavana, food kadikima, you won't get food. So if you anyway have to work for the food, why at all you talk about Andava? And we answer them, we don't want Andavan out of insecurity or out of getting something from him. We remember Bhagavan out of gratitude. This whole Bhagavan, Antaryami, Anma is not in me as Kadavul. I can't even digest the food. I can't even swallow the food. And it is Bhagavan who is Vaishvanaran in my stomach. Pachamyannam Chaturvidam. All the 4 types of food, he is the one who digests it. So I am calling out the Lord not for doing business with him. What do you think we are Hindus? We don't do business with the Lord. We don't even want the bread from the Lord. We are thankful to the Lord for digesting the bread which came by whatever means. You see? And so my entire religion is a religion of gratitude. And for people who start their journey, yes, not everybody can have that type of maturity. For them, we say, you believe in God, He will provide, He will provide. Once you grow up, for whatever He has been provided already, our religion says, be thankful. Whether you listen to sweet words or bitter words, you are able to listen, be thankful for that fundamental thing. Whether you get positive thoughts or negative thoughts, you are able to think, for that, be thankful. Adudha, fundamental gratitude is what is Gayatri Mantra. So they are opening the doors of higher knowledge of Vedas, Upanishads, etc. Only after these children do contemplation of Gayatri Mantra, then only it is opened. Why now? Without gratitude, Vidya becomes burden. Without gratitude, anything becomes burden. So here, immediately, Swamiji is capturing the essence of our Hinduism. Adana Dharma. Dharma nale gratitude. Kali Dharmam, even more gratitude. Kali means conflict. All the mental conflict we have. Why do we have all that? Because we forgotten a fundamental value called gratitude. So Swamiji immediately focuses on Andavan illamal ஆகாரம் கிடைக்கலாம் ஆண்டவன் வேண்டுமாம் உந்தீபர. The first verse is about an external vision of what I see as the universe. Look at it with wonder and then ponder. Vedam does that. It ponders. Is there anybody who has done that? Irukara illayo அப்படிலாம் கேட்கும். And then finally it will come. ஓ நான் வா அப்படின்னு கேட்டுரும். And then it will say, yes, there is a person. He is the one who is the Antaratma. Eko Guda Charatihi. You won't see him, but he is there. Without him, the wind can't blow. Without him, there can't be any system and there is no order in the universe. It will answer. That is the first way of searching, is an external search. And the second or the more Indian way of searching is inner search. And so our Swamiji immediately internalizes our mind, because he is going to tell later that everybody's parvai or eyesight is outward only. Everybody's perspective is always outward. The mind keeps flowing out. And in the second verse, suddenly Swamiji turns the flow of mind and saying, Andavan illamal aharam kadaikalam. You may get food without Andavan. But whatever you got as food, for it to be digested, you need Andavan here. Now, in you, search for him inside. He is the Antaryami. Whatever you search outside, finally you have to find him only inside. And that is why our Swamiji says, you can't see him outside, you can only see him inside. That's why he said, that Bhagavan who is inside you can be seen because he can only be seen within. He can't be seen outside. And the example he gives is, Unakan illamal கடவுளை காணலாம் கனவு காண்பதற்கென்று உந்தீபர. உனக்கண் வேண்டுமோ உந்தீபர. How beautifully he is turning our vision inwards. First he say, look at this world outside. There is order in this world. The 5 elements are inimical to each other. They are working in coordination. There is order. So he's not saying அதனால பகவான் இருக்கான்னு சொல்லல, அதனால நாஸ்திகம் தப்பு, அதனால Sankhya Yoga tappu, or the Nirishwara Sankhya is wrong. So he uses the first one to only discard these two Avedic philosophy, but to actually do the actual, yes, Bhagavan is here. So he's saying, for you to know where God is, what you eat has to be digested, so look within. So the first sloka is Janmadhyasya yato anvayat itaratascha irukku illaya. The first one is Vyatirekam, saying not this, not this. The second verse is Anvayam. Bhagavan ulla irkampa. How do I know na? You are asking this question because he is inside. You are doubting because he is inside. You say I know something and you say I don't know something, but you know that you don't know na. How do you know that you don't know? Because there is Bhagavan inside. I don't know is not like some darkness without any prajnanam, isn't it? Even the knowledge that I don't know all this is because of Chaitanya inside you. If you think deeply about it, then ulla kadavul appdin puriyuma. So Andavan illamal aharam kadaikalam, kedaithathu jarika vendrundipara, Andavan vendumam. So there has to be an Antaryami inside, find him inside you. And then immediately he says, don't use your physical eye to see him, because physical eye cannot catch him. But understand there is something which is the light of the eye. Kannukku kannai, kannindrai kaanunai, kaanuvari avarpal. So the question asked here is, don't look at what you see, but rather find out how you see it or who is the one seeing it. You see, when you are listening to a lecture, more than listening to the words, when you actually start thinking about what makes the speaker speak and what makes the listener listen, na adam Brahma Vicharam. While I am telling Upanishad, suppose I am telling you Upanishad, and then you are listening. As you keep listening, Shravanam, Mananam, the deal where Nididhyasana engadrima bogum, that which makes my guru speak and that which makes the Sishya listen, what is that? Takkanu vandruma Brahma Vichara. You see, Nididhyasana. So here our Swamiji immediately is pulling our vision inwards, saying that physical eyes are not required to see everything. Even in your dream, with your eyes closed, you are able to see the dream, isn't it? So for that, our Swamiji is opening in the small door. Remember the transition from known to unknown. Dharma nale unknown da. Dharma is adrishtam. Samanya dharma, truth, etc. may be intuitive. But that dharma which leads us to moksham, that is not intuitive. That has to be shown by shastras. Shastraiva gamya. It is only by eka shastra, only shastra alone, and only shastra can actually show us the path. So obviously intellect can't understand. So our Swamiji slowly is bringing insight by saying that without these eyes we can see, because the eyes are seeing because of him. How can you see him who makes your eyes see? We don't know. I'll give you a small example. I am seeing the whole world with my eyes. Can I see my eyes? I can't. I can see a reflection of the eyes in the mirror, but I cannot see itself now. You see. So here, eyes cannot see itself because jadam. You see. And then once a person said, you say Atma is self-effulgent. Atma realizes itself na puriliye abdinar. Swamiji smiled and asked him in Tamil, Arivu irukka unakku abdinar. He first didn't understand. Then he thought and said, Sami, illappa, unakku arivu irukka abdinu ketten. Irukku Sami, unakku arivu irukku eppadi theriyum unakku? Arivunaalaye enakku arivu irukku theriyardano. அறிவே தன்னால தன்னை உணரும் பொழுது சைத்தன்யமான ஆத்மாவால ஏன் உணர முடியாதுன்னு அடிபிட்டாங்க ஆளு. He's saying, do you have an intellect? And that villager said, yes, I do have an intellect. How do you know you have an intellect? It is by the intellect that I know I have an intellect. When he said, even in the surface of intellect itself knows that it is there. Imagine that Chaitanyam, it will also self-realize. Don't worry. You don't need a second object for it to say that it is realized out there. And so here, the third thing is our Swamiji is now opening a door of possibility. Sambhavana. Sambhavana. It's possible. It's possible. How? You don't have to use your eyes to see Bhagavan. Like you actually don't need eyes to see the dream. And then the next one is Drishyate, Shruyate. Then how do you listen? How do you listen? He says you can listen to Bhagavan's voice, because right inside your conscience it keeps rubbing you. And that conscience is the voice of divinity. You know that. And so we can hear Bhagavan, we can see Bhagavan. Or Sambhavana. How we don't know, but it's possible. We have now got into a thought that it is possible. And once you get that, then the rest of the verses, we are more open to embrace it. A guru out of his kripa, instead of saying, just trust me, is also helping us in that vishwasa. He is developing vishwasam in us. And then, in the 5th verse, பூமிக்கும் உயிர்ண்டு உங்கி பர மறுத்ததற்கில்லை என்று. This is generally prasangat. He's on the way saying that even if you put a seed in the earth blesses us with a living plant. So there has to be life in the earth also, is what he's saying. This could be an answer for ஆண்டவன் இல்லாமல் ஆகாரம் கிடைக்கலாம்லாம் என்ன உன்னால பண்ண முடியும். You see, only efforts are only a very small portion of the results. Beyond our so-called human efforts, the results are dependent on a lot of things beyond totally our control. And that's all. Bhaktas call it grace. People who are in karma marga call it prakriti or karma palan, whatever, depending on where you are, you see. So there is something beyond me. And so ஆண்டவன் இல்லாமல் ஆகாரம் கிடைக்காது actually. Even for us to get food, it is Bhagavan's creation which blesses us with food. We can't manufacture even 1 grain of rice. Can we manufacture 1 grain of rice? We may get this from there, that from there, mix everything. Everything has been created by Bhagavan. And so here he said that in the 5th stanza, that even Bhumi has life. So be respectful to Bhumi also. Be respectful to her, like a mother, like a Bhudevi. தோன்றியது அழியும் அழிந்தது தோன்றும் தோன்றி தோன்றி அழியும் என்றும் தீபர. Here our Swamiji is again showing that it is not a one-time creation. The whole thing is a cycle which strengthens. Even if it's a one-time creation, 5 elements working with each other in a coordinated way itself clinches a deal. But if it's a repetition where creation and destructions are opposite to each other, and from that state of destruction, when we have to bring it back to creation, how can nature take care of that? So there has to be a niyamakan, the one who has nature as a shakti, kvachit vihartam, at times releasing it, at times holding it back. So Bhagavan does that. And the whole universe is that wonderful cycle, you see. And so he is saying, தோன்றியது அழியும் அழிந்தது தோன்றும் தோன்றி தோன்றி அழியும் என்றும் தீபர யுக்திக்கு பொருத்தமாம். You see, here very important point out here is something is appearing, something is disappearing, again it is appearing. When things are appearing, disappearing, appearing, disappearing, there has to be somebody apart from that watching that. Otherwise, how will I know it appears or disappears? So that consciousness, which is the witness to all these appearance, disappearance, appearance, disappearance, the cycle. Now he is, though Bhagavan is immanent in this universe, he is also apart from it in contrast. Because that which appears disappears, and that which disappears appears. Between appearance and disappearance, or more than that, disappearance and the reappearance, there has to be a connection. There has to be a common ground. There has to be that which is constant. In this flux of this universe, there has to be a constance. And only if there is something constant, this whole cycle can repeat itself. And the constant dhampa, Brahman, and the constant dhampa, consciousness. That constant is Atma. So here he is saying, Yuktiki Purutama. So Yuktiki enna Purutamna? 2 things. Marupadarkillai sollala. It means you have to think in Ravar. Marupadarkillai means it's obvious. You see. Yuktiki Purutamamna, think a little bit about it. So that you can do a little vicharam and understand the depth of it. What he is saying, that which appears disappears. That which disappears appears. That which appears and disappears, appears and disappears, it's a full cycle. Somebody has to be a witness to the whole cycle and not to be actually a part of that cycle. If Bhagavan also disappears, now how will he appear again? So this whole universe, apart from Bhagavan as a Sakshi, is appearing. He is not only controlling it, he is apart from it also, and he is also the one who is sustaining this cycle. Anala yuktiki porutham. If something has to disappear and reappear, then there has to be a constance. Whenever somebody says there is variation, that presupposes a common constant background. Otherwise, variation is a meaningless term. If somebody says it's varying, varying with respect to what? There has to be a datum. There has to be a constancy. Only with respect to constancy, we can talk things like variation or a cycle. In a cycle, there has to be a datum. Without a datum, cycle or not cycle, etc. is totally meaningless. Idudha yukti. So Swamiji says, think about it. Each of these verses is vicharam manna vendiya vishayam, dharma vishayam. See, though it is put as a poem, like our Aksharamana Malai or Upadesa Undiyar, poem na. deep poems. So here he is saying that which appears, disappears, disappears, appears, appears, disappears. Think about it. If something happens like that, it is possible only when there is a constancy which is apart from this variations. And for example, if I say I have a board, I draw a red line, and then I rub it, I draw a black line, and then I rub it, I draw a red line again, I rub it, I draw a black line. So when people said there was first the red line, then a black line, then a red line, then a black line, what they are not saying is there was a white board to start with. Otherwise, who knows what is red? Who knows what is black? If the blackboard has a black line on it, who will know what is there or not? So there has to be a contrasting background, and that background has to be constant. If the background itself has multicolors, varying, then nobody can ever decide what was red, what was blue, when was it coming, etc. So two things are very clear. There has to be a background which is constant, and second thing is it has to be in contrast with what is being drawn over it. So universe is constantly changing, tondri aliyum. And when you say that, obviously there has to be a constant adharam. Adharam sarva vidyanam mari, adharam sarva bhutanam. And what is that adharam? Bhagavan, Brahman. And second, it has to be in contrast with what is being superimposed on it, universe jadam. And our Bhagavan is Chaitanyam. It will be actually okay. Watercolor contrast. You see? So that very fact, yukti na yosika solrar Guruji. That which is appearing and disappearing, and after disappearing, appearing again, cycle, not two things. There has to be a datum, there has to be a background. Without a screen, movies cannot be projected. Ramana wrote an example that whatever you project on the screen, even if it is extremely a scene of volcano erupting, that's a movie. The screen la vandu oru sottu kuda it is not burnt na. Why na? It is totally apart from that. And without the screen you can't see the movie. But the screen is unaffected by the movie. Puriyad irukkum. That is why Bhagavan does everything. Avardan adharam ellam pandrar. But he is totally in contrast with it. Ellam jadam or chaitanyam na, that cannot touch him. And that is why muttolil purindum puriyad irukkum. And so here he is saying everything is a cycle. We see it. Yukti ki porutam, and yukti ki porutam not anubhavathukku porutam. Anubhavam means I see a tree growing, there is spring, then there is autumn, all the leaves fall down, again there is spring, and that's yukti illa, the anubhavam. But here, since he is saying yukti ki porutam, think deeper than just what we see out in the world. And if you see things are in cycles, think deeper, think deeper. Think deep till, as Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says, the head falls down now. So they went on asking, who is the cause, who is the cause, who is the... Finally, Hiranyagarbhan poets. Who created Hiranyagarbhan? A lady asked. We were equal opportunity. Anybody can ask in that court. Yajnavalkya said, Gargi, your head will drop. Do you want me to answer? You see. Intellect beyond that, intellect won't work. Your head will drop, he says. So yukti ki porutam, till the head drops, you have to drops na tukam. You see, do vichara. Tondriyadu ajiyum ajindadu tondrum tondri ajiyum endrundi para yukti ki porutam undi para. So now the next line, adana beauty. So now something is constantly changing in this world. What is the point in all that? If you create a world and it exists forever, I can understand the purpose of life. But then when you say it is appearing, disappearing, enna point na, there can only be one point. Get out of this go round. If something keeps on in a cyclic way, if you are caught in the cycle, you are caught forever. You are caught in the whirlpool. If the whole universe is a cycle, constant flux, without any constancy in the universe, adikdan jagat ne per. Jagat nale movement, flux in artham. That's why we say things which are stavara jangamam nu solrom illaya. Jangamam means that which keeps on moving, that which keeps on changing its place. And that word jagat comes from jangada, and it is always a constant flux. And so If something is again and again, tirumba or cycle, repeated cycle of appearance, sustenance, disappearance. You add two more, vardate, it is also growing, and then it slowly parinamate, it changes, then it stays forever or it stays stable, and then it starts decaying, it dies, it is born. 6 stages said Yaska. In Nirukta, he says generally things in the world are 6 stages. First born, then grows, and then it becomes a little changes, and then it stabilizes a bit, and then it decays, it dies. So 6 stage border. And the whole universe is like that now. It is born, sustains, gone. Born, sustains, gone. Repeatedly. And then you ask, what is the point in this? The point in this is, look at the complete vain, everything is a vanity finally. It's all in vain. Get out of it. Adhanaladan in Prashnottara Ratna Malika of Adi Shankara Bhagavad, the question is, samsare kim saram? In samsara, what is the sara? The answer is chintana about it and getting out of samsara. That's saram taraval. The saram illana, you having this chintana that samsara does not have any sara, understanding its nature, and hence running to his feet, surrendering him to get out of it is the sara of samsara. Adhanala, so once we know this creation is born, sustained, die, born, sustained, die, born, die. Till when? Till infinity. From when? Minus infinity. See, yeah. Adampa point. Padaipin karanam pattavardhanamam veedu peru adaivade undi para.
Vishayanubhavamille undi para.
The very fact that it is a cycle, at some point of time, though we see it, yet we don't see it, but deep inside when we actually feel it, we realize what is the same thing, and we realize Vishanubhavam, it's totally vanities of all vanities. It's vain. It's all in vain. So let me get out of it. You see? And so he says, Pattavardhanama, as if it is so obvious, he's saying. When will it become obvious? The earlier stanza, na yukti ki purutama. Once you think about what this life is, then it becomes very obvious. There is no point in a repeated cycle for infinity. Na. Can you imagine this? Take your vision perspective a little higher and at least accept what our Vedas say. We have been born 1,000,000 billion times earlier. We are going to be born 1,000,000 billion times. If we have mukshutvam, then we should feel or ennui. What is this? Then you ask a question, what is the sara in this? And then you understand, oh, unless I do this chintanam, I cannot actually go and surrender to Bhagavan for moksha. So whole play of this repeated cycle of birth, sustenance, death, birth, sustenance, death. Okay, please give me an escape out of it. Bhagavan says, you want to come. Now that you have seen through this samsara, teshamaham samuddartam mrityu samsara sagarat. Bhavami nachirat partha mahi aveshida chetas. Then come, do my nama sankirtana, surrender to me, I'll take care of you. And so, pattavardhanama, Ilana, the word is not understood properly. Only when we look at the 6th verse, we understand the 7th verse. Pattavardhanam, very, very openly, straight away, it is obvious type of a thing. It is very apparent. As we all know, all these are synonyms of pattavardhanam. Padaipin karanam pattavardhanamam veedu peru adaivathu vaikuntam. Attrathu patranil uttrathu veeduyar. And once we get detached from the cycles of these, then the doors of Bhagavan's house is open for you. Attrathu patranil. If the attachment pattanu pochina, you see, and then uttrathu, immediately veedu peru, that the doors of moksha dwaram is open for us. And how can we get rid of the attachment? Now see through this repeated cycle. Suppose I give you a small movie to watch. What is the movie? A boy gets up, walks 2 steps, come back, sit down. Gets up, walks 2 steps, come back, sit down. எப்போ வரைக்கும் till infinity. என்ன பண்ணுவேன்? ஐயோ வேணாம் சார், சேனலே வேண்டாம், ஐ சேனலும் வேண்டாம், இ சேனலும் வேண்டாம். I just want an escape from this, repetition. Then you've seen through the Leela. But unfortunately, this Leela is not that quick a cycle. Konjam extend pannadunala it konjam interesting. This fellow, instead of taking 2 steps, that's why our Swamiji also uses the word, it is a 2 days life, 2 naal vaalkainu. And same thing Kabir Das ji says, do dirnka darsana mela. So here, since it is a little more extended, and Bhagavan does not make us remember what happened in our earlier lives and all that, and so we find some interest in what we are doing. We have a little illusion that I can control this, I can control that. Or interesting for that. But the moment you see the mega picture and understand, then you see through this, then you run to Bhagavan and say, I want out of this cycle. And that is the purpose of this cycle, you see, so that we get tired of it and ask for Bhagavan for release. Vidu peru adaiva devundi para. And it is not in vain. It is not just for us to aya na say hi gaya. It is not for artham. It is not for kamam. It is actually for moksham. So the life has a purpose. The purpose of life is somehow see through all this, get a little vairagya, so that we understand the margam, which is Nama Sankirtanam in Kali, and do the Nama Sankirtan, pray for liberation. That is the whole purpose of Kali Dharma. And then he's saying, now that we are clear of these whole things, what is the path, and what will tell us the path? What is the pramana for the path? What is the authority? What is the source of knowledge for us to understand the path? Because I understand liberation as a requirement. Many of us need not be Vedic Pandits to understand I want to be liberated. But path has to be Vedic. Veda mukti ki karanam.
Urundinam vedamerka vendum undi para.
The beauty in which our Swamiji has put sadhana and sadhya in that order is interesting. He's even saying at times, even normal people without much of Vedic knowledge or Shastric knowledge may be pushed to a situation where they want liberation. I don't want to be born again. But even if they have the thirst for liberation, the path has to certainly be shown by Vedic path only. That is the only path. There is no other way in it. The veru upayam illai. Shastram ekam. It is only Shastra Yonitvat. Only through Shastram we can understand Bhagavan. Only through Shastram we can realize Bhagavan. Only through Shastram we can understand the path towards Bhagavan. So he is saying, Mukti ki karanam, Yukti ki purundinum. Even if you try to work it out with our intellect, even if you find some people telling what is the way for Mukti, they say something. And it makes perfect sense to me, sir. Won't help. Making sense is not the point. Whether it is true or not is the point. Most of us are swayed by some explanations which make sense. But then it need not be true. And so he is saying, Vedatil mukti ki karanam, yukti ki purundinum. I once met a person. I am not making this up. That person said, what is your path? He told me he will hold 2 fingers like this and then say something, and then he will put his right feet இப்படி வைப்பானா, left feet அப்படி வைப்பானா, இப்படி மாத்தி மாத்தி பண்ணியிருந்தானா மோட்சம் கிடைச்சிரும் அப்படின்னா. I said, who told you all that? He says, our satsang does that every day, etc. I said, then tell me what is the pramana for it. And he said, I don't know. You see, that's what we have been taught. And that's what we have been doing. Then I was surprised. Is it in line with Vedas? Show me a pramana, I asked. That person didn't know. So even if people show all these paths, etc., we have to ask a question. 30 years back, people could not escape that question. But now, manda sumanda matai. We don't ask that question. And the question to be asked is, வேதத்துல எங்க இருக்கு? Is it as per Bhagavatam? Is it as per Ramayanam? Is it as per Smriti? Is it as per Shruti? Upanishadல எங்க இருக்கு? Show me. If they can't, you are in a very dangerous place. Even money, resources, potom. Life is gone. So our Swamiji is warning us, mukti ki karanam, the cause or the path for mukti, means to mukti, even if it makes sense to me as a person personally, it's not enough. Vedam erka vendum. That path should be sanctioned. It should be prescribed by the Vedas. Veru upayam. It's not in Vedas, sir, but I don't want to listen to you at all. I don't want to listen to you. Because if it's not in Vedas, I don't want to listen. Because it's not a genuine path. Simple. And it won't lead me to moksha. Maybe it will give me some siddhi, etc. that I don't know. Maybe it will lull my mind to a little bit of peace that I don't know. But moksham, only Vedam has to show. Why? Apaurusha. It has to only show. And then Swamiji says, yes, but Vedas has 3 types of adhikaris. So, Triguna Vishayaha Veda, Bhagavan himself says. Traigunya Vishaya Veda. There are Satvika people, Vedas talk something for them. There are Rajasic people, Vedas talk something for them. Tamasic people, as our Swamiji used to say, there are some mantras which are there in Vedas which will make sure your neighbor empties his house on. Mantra. When you are bothered by your neighbor, mantra javam panna, the neighbor gali pandra mantra. You see? But that's not for a Satvika person. Thankfully, those mantras are not in vogue now, I guess. You see? So here he is saying, even Vedas go for Satvikamana path in Vedas. Satvikamana path na karma yoga, upasana, jnana yoga. And in that also, depending on which yuga we belong to, go for that which Veda Mata, and of course her own explanation is Bhagavatam, shows us the path for the current age. So, Kalathirku Ottava. It has to be in tune with the current reality. It cannot be some fanciful path which used to work 10,000 years back but not now. What is the point? Swamiji is saying, Vedathai sonnadai kalathirku ottava. If it is just a philosophy where you can do all the mental gymnastics and try to discuss, debate and all that, you don't have to worry about the times, because it's only mind. So I can talk about all these hypothetical stuff, etc. But now I want a path practical. I have to walk in the path, which means the path should be available right now, and I should be fit to walk in the path. And if there are any supports required in the path, that should be available right now. So if I am talking only hypothetical stuff and just some mental images, etc., we can talk anything we want to. But here, it is a path which I want to attain liberation. So Swamiji says, Karuthinil kolla vendum. Also consider this. As a consideration, add the current times, the current availability, my fitness, eligibility, and practicality. Consider that. Because we want something practical. And Swamiji loves our Vivekananda Swami's quote that instead of 1,000 pounds of speech, 1 ounce of practicality is far greater. Practical and be practical. And that practicality should be in line with Vedas. And the goal is liberation. Now, actually, think about it. Consider it. So, Karuthinil kolla vendum. This is how Samvadam happens. Remember, there are 4 types of, Katha, etc. Kathane per. And most of what Guruji is speaking out here is Kathopanishade. Anala Katha, adile Kathopanishad. In that, very beautifully, Samvadam, a Guru-Sishya Samvadam. Samvadam is more like a discussion where a person who is realized and also an expert in Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. He is not only Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam also. The one who is well versed in all the scriptures, which we will see in each verse, there is so much of Shastra behind it. And is also having experience, is trying to show a path to an eager, humble, open disciple. Samvada. That's why Krishna Arjuna Samvade. Bhagavad Gita is a Samvada Katha. Vadakatha, Samvadakatha, then we have Vidandavadakatha, Jalpakatha, and Nariya irukku. So this is Samvadam. So here our Swamiji is thinking aloud in irukku. So when he is saying, now our goal is clear, Samvadam. Imagine this is Swamiji, this is somebody here like me there. And he's saying goal is clear, it is liberation. Yeah, yes. And that path has to be as prescribed by Vedas. Yes. I think we should also consider practicality of the current. So he is now thinking aloud and showing the path also as a discussion. Instead of making it very dogmatic, it is very beautifully discussing with that person. அதனால இதெல்லாம் நம்ம கருத்துல கொள்ளணும் அப்படின்னு he is preparing us to be open to a path which is as per Vedas, and that path which leads us to liberation. ரொம்ப அழகா கருத்தினில் கொள்ள வேண்டும். கருத்தினில் கொள், உந்தி பெற சொல்லல, கருத்துல கொள்ள வேண்டும். It is like two friends talking to each other. It is like we are sitting with a guru and we are seeing a path together. That is the beauty of this Samvadakatha. கருத்தினில் கொள்ள வேண்டும் உந்தி பெற. Cannot be objected, isn't it? மறுதற்கிடமில்லை உந்தி பெற. You can't say no to that. Like Kanta Samhita. And the first path our Swamiji takes is, first you have to start with Karma Yoga. Without Karma Yoga, we are not fit for anything, you see, in Vedas. So even that Karma Yoga nale yajnam. Dravya Tyagam for a Devata is yajnam. Dravyam nale material. You just put some material, each Devata writes a different material. You have to put that material in that Agni, in the proper procedure, proper time, proper place, proper mantra, proper ghee, proper materials, everything proper irukano. So idhula first thing is material, forget other things. Velviyiyattrida vendiyadiraviyam endru kettu
உந்தி பெற கிட்டாததால் வீணே உந்தி பெற.
So for us to actually do karma yogam, we have to do karma first. And the karma way we can't do properly, whether it is with desire or as an offering to Bhagavan. That base Vedic karma margam only few can do. Few and 1 in a million. Truly 1 in a million can do in this world. Truly. So enna pandrathu? Even though the path is grand, path is beautiful, path is Vedic, namakku namba fit illa. Why? We are not able to get the material, right? Second, நியமங்கள் நிறைந்த யோக மார்க்கத்தில் நியமம் தவறினால் உந்தி பெற புத்தி பேதலிக்கும் என்று உந்தி பெற. Raja Yoga, Abhyasa Yogam, where I will do Yamam, Niyamam, Asanam, Pranayamam, Pratyaharam, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi, proper Yogam. And even if you want to enter in that yoga, first Yamam Niyamame weak, which means things like Aparigraham, Brahmacharyam, and there are so many rules and regulations. It has to be done with precision. If we don't do it properly, it has adverse effect. Like karma also has that thing. Abhikramana dosham, pratyavaya dosham. Abhikramanam means if you don't complete it, you won't get a portion of the fruit. You won't get any fruit at all. Complete panna fruit. Illana illa. You see. And we use the example in Tamil. Kanatha paadi taanne sar ulada ulana. Mukka taanne say, hey, mulusa taandla nale prayojanam illa. Some paths are like that. Which means I tried to cross the well. I crossed it halfway. What is the point? You will fall down. Even 99% I crossed nalum same well da. Unless you do 100% crossing nada well na artham. Illana we are unwell only, or in the well, both are same. So here in yoga margam, if we don't follow rules, regulations and the precision as advised by an adept guru, buddhi pedalikum, we may end up with some problems in our mental psyche. So be careful, he says. And then what about Jnana Margam, sir? I will do Vicharam, Atma Vicharam. What did you have for breakfast? இன்னும் ஒரு 5 course சொல்றாரு. லஞ்ச் 6 course. உனக்கு this is not your course ன்றாரு. And then the other one said, of course ன்றாரு. சுவையான உணவுடன் சுகமான வாழ்க்கையில் மனமடங்கும் என்பது உந்தி பெற மடமையே ஆகும் என்று. Now see the words used by Swamiji. அதான் ஒரு வாட்டியும் பார்க்கும்போது ஆச்சரியமா இருக்கு. The whole point of karma yoga is in shraddha and being ready to tapas. You have to actually, if you have to fast now, you have to fast. If you have to pour your whole body with oil now, you have to pour the whole body with oil. You should not take bath for 5 days now, you should not take bath. So that is very difficult. In yoga margam, niyamams are very tight. Karthal 4 manikku எழுந்து தியானம்னா 4 மணிக்கு எழுந்து தியானம். ஆசனம் போடு 5 மணி நேரம் போடணும். So adula physical exercise is very difficult there. You know, physically you have to control your breath, asanam. The third jnana margam is all about intellectual rational sharpness. You see, if you think you can follow this rational path of doing vicharam by eating very tasty food and having a comfortable life, it is the most irrational thing to do. You see, the very fact that for you to go in jnana marga, your intellect has to be sharp, like a point in a razor. Anta mari sharp irukano. And the intellect has to hold on to that I thought whenever each thought comes, which means your intellect is sharpened when you are in that jnana margam, and you enter that jnana margam hoping that I'll have good food and a comfortable life and do my sarira poshanam. Then manam adangadu. If you think it will na, ஒரு அடிக்கே மோசம். You see, இதுக்கு தான் stupidity ன்னு பேரு. How can a stupid person go in the path of jnana vichara? You see, so don't even think about controlling the mind and doing vicharam by wonderful food and comfortable life. Won't help you. The mind won't be controlled by that, and you can't do vicharam, or you can't do atma vicharam, brahma vicharam with a turbulent mind. And that's why suvayana unavu sugamana vaalkaina deha abhimanam. That's why our Bhagavan says that is very difficult for people. Avyaktahi gatir dukkam dekhavadbhiravapyate. Bhagavan says if you are having tremendous attachment to the body, which is exhibited only 2 ways, tasty food and comfortable life, then jnana marga is not for you. Because jnana marga is for people who are willing to actually take the biggest sacrifices. Sadhana shat sampati and sadhana chatushtayathoda ulla varanam. And only then this path of jnana vichara or atma vichara will work for you. With all this comfortable life and sweet food, etc., pesalam. We can talk about jnana vichara, atma vichara. Pandrathu kashtam. Because the mind has to be controlled. And food, if we don't control properly, becomes a portion of the turbulent mind. So it's not possible. So the 3 important paths, karma margam, raja yogam, which is abhyasa yogam, and jnana margam is already taken care. And then he is going to talk about bhakti.